Hi, my name is Kristin, and right now you are watching this video at a presentation that Catherine is giving you. She's going to tell you that children are at risk of being molested by someone that they know and trust. Those of you who have been molested know exactly what she's talking about. Those of you who are fortunate enough to not know what Catherine is talking about are probably sitting there in disbelief, thinking that this absolutely would never happen to your child or any of the children that you know. So Catherine asked me to tell you my personal story. I am from Maine, and I live in Maine. I grew up in a small town where everybody knew everybody. I came from a blue-collar, hard-working family. My parents were happily married, and I have one younger sister. My mom was a registered nurse, and my dad was in heating and plumbing. I was an honor roll student. We lived on a quiet, dead-end street where we were close friends with all of our neighbors. Barbecues, pool parties, and movie nights were regular events among all of us. When I was just 9 years old, my neighbor began to sexually molest me. He was what appeared to be a hard-working man, a close friend of my parents, a husband, a father of 3. His youngest was my age, and 2 others, one just slightly older than myself, and another older by a couple of years. Things started off small. When he would see me, even with my parents in the very same room, he would scoop me up in what seemed a fun and playful hug. He would spin me around in his arms, all the while rubbing his hands in places they had no right being. It would all happen so fast, no one would even notice what was going on. I was shocked, and at the age of 9, didn't know how to address him or anyone else about what had just happened. There were nights our families got together to watch movies. He would again scoop me up and set me on his lap or next to him on the couch. He would put a blanket, a pillow, or even a stuffed animal over my lap so no one could see what he was going to do. The room would have 6 to 8 others present, yet he still managed to continue his inappropriate fondling. He held holiday parties for his kids, the neighborhood kids, and friends. Halloween was particularly an easy target, for he would shuffle us all down to the basement, where it was dark, allowing him to make his moves without easily being seen. My parents both had jobs that often required overnight work, and I would be sent to the neighbor's house to spend the night. It was those nights that things got even more intense. His wife, also a nurse, worked very early in the mornings. She would leave the house around 3 a.m. As I slept in the kids' room on the floor, between my friends, he would sneak in and pick me up. He would carry me to his room and lay me on the bed. He would lay a kitchen knife beside me, or sometimes across my stomach or my chest, and told me if I made a noise or spoke of this to anyone, that he would kill me. He would then proceed to do as he wanted with me, and often making me do things to him. There were many nights I remember trying to pretend I was still asleep, so he wouldn't make me do those things. I just laid there and wished it would all stop, tears running down my face, but was too afraid to make a peep, sometimes wishing I was dead. How could he do this to me? I thought he cared about me. What did I do to deserve this? This went on for 2 solid years before he finally moved away. As I entered the 6th grade at school, they then offered a sexual education course. It was during this class that I learned about inappropriate touching. We were shown a video of testimonials where other children spoke of parents, step-parents, siblings, cousins, friends, neighbors, and so forth, inappropriately touching them. I could barely contain myself and ran from the classroom in tears. My guidance counselor followed me and found me balled up on the floor crying. She asked me what was wrong. I told her I couldn't tell her. He said he would kill me. Thankfully, she got me to her office, where she then called my mom, who came down to the school. They told me and promised to keep me safe, and that they needed to know what happened. I was reassured that I was in a safe place. Because my offender had finally moved away and was no longer living across the street from my house, I decided it was time to tell what had been happening to me over the past 2 years. They instantly called the police. I was taken in for questioning. Due to the threats that were made, one of the police officers was assigned to me as a bodyguard. For 1 whole year, I couldn't go to school without the officer. While in class, the officer manned the grounds to be sure my offender did not enter the property and could not harm me. I was restricted from going to friends' houses or even just walking to the store just up the street from my house. The threats were real and scary for all involved. My offender was convicted. He was found guilty of several counts of sexual assault and gross sexual assault against a minor. He was placed on 10 years probation and was not allowed in contact with another minor other than his own children living in his home. I went through intense counseling, twice a week for 2 years following his conviction. I spent many hours talking about what had happened, learning that it was by no fault of my own that this had happened to me, that there was only one person at fault, my offender. He was fully aware of what he was doing and that it was wrong. We were just your average family. My parents were quite protective of me and my sister. They always knew where we were and whom we were with. This man played the role of someone trustworthy and used that trust to violate me. He then instilled fear to gain control over me. He didn't look like an offender. He didn't act like an offender. He seemed to be a normal, trustworthy family man. Predators and offenders are all around us. The harm and trauma they can cause is very real. It is our duty to be aware. It is our duty to protect those around us in any way possible, which is why I share my story with you all. Please be proactive. Talk to your child or children about inappropriate touching and behavior. They need to know at an early age what is acceptable and what isn't. Be the safe person they can turn to. Assure them that you are there to listen to all they have to tell you, and give them resources of others that they can also talk to should something like this happen. And as I sit here before you, I want to say that although I struggled over the years with the trauma this has caused me, with the help of a strong community, family, and friends, I have overcome. Healing takes time, but I refuse to let my offender continue to emotionally control me for the rest of my life. Although I am scarred, I look at those scars as warrior wounds, the pain I once endured, and how I have healed.